like we've got 29 people in the audience so far. Thank you all for joining today. We've got quite the show. We're gonna let a few people come in, maybe give it a minute or two more, and then we'll jump right in. All right, Mark. I think we've established some level of quorum. We can go ahead and get started.
Awesome. So I am super excited about the panel of e-commerce pros we've got today for you to talk about real stories of AI success in e-commerce. People are going to be sharing real world experiences, insights, bumps and bruises that they've gathered along the way integrating AI into their work. This is, again, we're going beyond the hype, so we're not going to be talking about one-person billion-dollar companies. We're not going to be talking about AI overlords taking jobs. This is about real, in-the-trenches experiences, advice, and lessons. And just to sort of set the stage, right? I mean, we were talking beforehand, some common themes we've been hearing. I mean, some of these aren't new. Some of these may be a little newer of challenges facing folks. They're really putting pressure on margins, right? You've got the usual rising customer acquisition costs, you've got the need for personalization, and you have some policies and tariffs that may be affecting a lot of you, or maybe it's an opportunity for you. Your competitors may be experiencing this. So really, what we believe is AI is an opportunity to help you become more efficient on the things that you do control. Your site, your email, your landing pages, right? How do you squeeze all the value you can to help combat these challenges, that a lot of which are out of your control? And to do that today, we have an amazing panel for you. Again, I'm Mark Rothbaum. I'm one of the co-founders of Vandra. I lead the product side. We have a personalized nudge platform that intelligently guides each shopper's journey through timely, targeted, relevant nudges at every stage in the purchase funnel. I'm joined today by Jennifer Peters. As you can see from her title, she is a jack of all things D2C e-commerce from the leading omni-channel vitamin brand Ollie. We've got Zohaib, Rattu, who is the VP of Growth at Social Snowball, and we've got Sanjay Jenkins, who is the head of growth at Replo. So I thought a fun way for them to introduce themselves might be if they could create any AI tool with no limitations. What would be your dream AI assistant, and what would be its name? So I will throw it to Jennifer first.
I have really strong feelings about this because I think spell check has been left behind in the great AI revolution, and it's still horrible. So a contextual spell check that like reads the rest of your sentence and then makes the word spell correctly. That is my dream. That's like my one AI wish, and I don't even care what it's called. It doesn't even matter. But I would like
you
to
have
have
a solution, put it in the chat. If you know of a tool like this, put it in the chat.
Please,
Yeah,
honestly, please.
This is a great opportunity for someone to vibe code. Please vibe code this tomorrow.
Exactly.
All right, throw it to you, Zo.
Yeah, so me personally, I really wished Apple Intelligence was what it promised promised itself to be. But if I had an app or AI, thing, it would be answering text messages for me. I'm really bad at it. So if you go into my messages app, I mean, like Sanjay gets annoyed at me all the time. Like I'll be messaging at the randomest times, and I wish there was an app that could respond to messages with what I'm probably thinking, plus message at the right times, not 3 a.m. Because, yeah, like I'll wake up randomly because the kids are crying, and then I'll respond to my text, and then Sanjay's like, "Bro, you gotta go to sleep. Like, why are you waking me up?" So, and the name would be like, I don't know, like auto texter or something, or we could just give it a name like Bart.
Yeah, Bart, I love it.
Like a good
Bart the auto texter. So
I just want Zoe to text me back. That's all it is. It's not that hard.
Is that your AI? It's Zo texting you back.
Yeah. Half the time AI for me is just actual Indians. It's just my cousins, doing stuff together. We're vibe coding all the time. But if I can build something, by the way, that actual Indian joke, I'm gonna milk that for all I can. That's my favorite joke to make about this whole AI thing. But it's, what I would do is, let's be honest. Like I would want Jarvis from like Iron Man. I use I've got like the Meta glasses, and I was on a walk around the lake, and I'd just be like, Meta, what picture is this, or what bird is this? What tree is this? And I'd love to be able to do that like contextually, real time, Come on, like that's what we want. That's the future. And I'm ready for it. So that's what I would
That's
do.
awesome. Mine is managing my life logistics. So like taxes, just could it have pulled all my tax documents and filed my taxes? Could it manage all my kids' schedules and put it into a calendar and keep them up to date? I called mine the logistical experience navigator. So all the logistics, Len is what I titled it. I thought a good way before we get started and dive in with the panel too is get a little audience participation here. And so as we think about, we often hear sort of two big buckets when folks are thinking about AI. And so if you've got a phone, or you can go to slido.com, what's the best way, in your opinion, to use AI? What have you found is a really great way to use AI? And I'm forcing you to make a choice. Is it on the creator side, like that creating content, or is it on the decision-making side, sort of real-time decision-making? So go ahead and submit your votes. And as they're doing that, I'm going to throw the question to the panelists to get us started as well. Like, where do you guys stand on opportunities to leverage AI if you had to be in one camp or the other?
Jennifer, where'd you go? Where would you go first?
Well, we're in the supplement space and highly regulated, so firmly in decision maker camp here. Creator's just not an option for us, but decision maker, absolutely.
I made a joke to Jennifer a couple days ago, and her response I asked her why she felt that way. We asked this question. I asked her why she felt that way, and she was like, "Well, I'll talk to my legal team about it." So like, compliance is really y'all. I consider myself a creator and a decision maker. I think it's more fun as a creator. I do think I can make faster decisions and better decisions because of AI now. So I'm like big fan of that. That's I guess that's a non-answer really, but maybe creator if I have to really follow Mark's rules here.
Yeah, for me as well, I think decision maker would probably fall more in line just because I the way that I'm using AI mostly is for research purposes. I feel like the creative element is a little bit tougher for me to figure out or crack the nut on AI, just because like I don't know, some of these posts that I'm seeing or some of the images that I see, it's just like I want to be different from it at a brand standpoint. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but a lot of the AI ChatGPT LinkedIn posts, you'll see right away they have the long hyphens.
The long hyphen, that's the giveaway.
I love
that. Yes.
And they always say it's not this, but it's this, and it's just like the corniest like line, but they always squeeze it into every single event. Right off or LinkedIn post, and then right off the bat I'm like, all right, this like turned me off. Like I don't want to, like they didn't put in the effort. So decision maker for me is just like, yeah, why use it.
It's about 50-50
Love it.
split, 53-47. So it's the panel is split and the audience is split on this one. What are some AI tools, and let's just dive in. What are AI tools and platforms you're using daily? Like, are there ones you're using daily, and how did you start on those, whether it's your own job or whether it's your organization that's using them?
I'm a big
From an
fan
e-com.
of Copilot. Honestly, like Copilot is my best buddy right now and does a lot of heavy lifting.
What specifically is it doing for you? I'm actually I'm really curious to dig into what all
I
of your.
am horrible at PowerPoints. Like I am the worst PowerPoint maker, and you can take a one-sheeter and just say, make this a PowerPoint, and it will. And it's beautiful. It's a miracle.
It's like
That's
the
pretty cool.
communication side of it with your team and leadership group.
What other like I guess like a really interesting like kind of follow up to this question, Jennifer, for you is like how much of your life is I'm going to talk to AI first versus like whatever you were doing before?
Well, I have a great example of that because I talk to ChatGPT on the daily, and I am one of those people that thinks if you say thank you, have a great day to the robots, eventually they will not kill you. They will spare you in the revolution. But I feel like I can go back and look at my questions that I asked ChatGPT and just be like, I am insane. Like these questions are all over the place. But I'm the kind of person who will sit and watch a movie and just constantly look up who people are, where I've seen them before. And so it's like a product of ADHD, just looking at my own question history. But asking the question feels a lot different than just looking it up on IMDb yourself. So, I mean, it's just like a constant all day. I wonder, look really quickly, have the answer to it. So maybe learning more than I would if I had to, I don't know, Google it myself.
Are
I
you,
really
are
like
you,
that inference piece. Go
Mhm.
ahead, go ahead.
yeah, are you using ChatGPT typically for these kind of like research requests? And are you like in what context are you like what kind of questions are you getting besides getting answered besides the movie stuff? Like
Mm.
more so in the ecom perspective.
I do not use ChatGPT as it relates to work unless it's more of like a personal kind of like soft touch type of thing. Like if you are doing
Mhm.
like a LinkedIn introduction and introducing two people or something like that. I don't ever put actual data or information about our company. I'm still a little paranoid, and I keep it very, light. I guess not. I would. It wouldn't be my go-to tool to do research around like competitors, our company, anything like that. Other than that, I will say like as we review different vendors, a lot of times I'll ask like who are their competitors because
Mhm.
sometimes knowing the competitors kind of defines the bucket that you think about that vendor living in. But yeah, not a big use of ChatGPT for work.
How about you? So are there areas where you feel like AI is giving you superpower on a sort of like your day to day level?
Hmm. Well, if you've seen my PowerPoints, you can tell there's a remarkable improvement. That's probably the biggest one. Also not
If
great at Excel, so it does some good Excel magic too.
if I never have to build a PowerPoint, like my life is so good.
Honestly,
Um,
honestly, it's the worst.
so
So
did you hear?
oh,
Go.
yeah, I wanted to ask and press on the Copilot stuff. So Copilot, that's a feature from Microsoft, correct? And
Mhm, correct.
are you using that for a lot of the Excel work and data analysis? Because like they're not, because that's local to your desktop, correct?
It is, yeah. And thankfully, I don't have to do anything generally that sophisticated because we have an incredible insights department who does a
Hmm.
lot of that. But if I do decide to go out on my own and try to make something, it's still usually not that complex if it's in Excel, but I do my best. And I
Hmm.
will, one of the hardest things I think about Excel, if you don't think like an Excel person, is like you have this information, you want to put it on the page in a way that makes the most sense to you, but you don't know what that way is. And that I think is like the unlock for me with Excel is like, here's what I've got. What is the best way to represent this? What does it look like? And that getting that question answered is a huge help.
So let me shift gears here. So one of the most common themes as we've talked with brands along this journey is the challenge having so many initiatives being spread so thin, and often things that have a lot of uncertainty and require a lot of effort end up getting pushed down the list, right? Because you have so many things on your plate, you're
Mhm.
sort of in firefighter mode. So as folks are on the call that are listening in, where are areas that were sort of quick wins, practical first steps to bringing AI into your business, your brand, or if you're sort of on the solution provider agency side, how you're helping clients and customers do that for themselves. So sort of places to get started. If you had sort
Mhm.
of, hey, here's how we thought about where we could get started.
I'll take this one really quickly because this is something I'm particularly passionate about. Um, the first thing that I would say in terms of like getting started with AI is accept the mindset shift of like you have to use these tools, you have to play with them, you have to like really understand the limits, figure out where the lines are honestly on each of the tools, and use all of the different models because they're all different. They're good at different things. So like the foundational things, like the core infra behind a lot of these things, it's ChatGPT. So OpenAI is ChatGPT. You've got Claude. You've got Grok from X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Gemini from Google directly. They all do different things really well. I use Claude almost exclusively when I need to write copy. M dashes be damned, like it's actually pretty good. But so what I'll do is like I'll use GPT for deep research. I'll take that deep research stuff, put it into it, like honestly just copy and paste it, put that into project knowledge in Claude, and that'll help me write like cold email campaigns, or I'm trying to do like put together a sale calendar for a brand that I'm consulting with. So you can kind of you want to like figure out what tool does what well, and then start to integrate that into your overall workflows. The second thing is like, and this is something that so again recap, if you want to get started with AI, just get started with AI. Like, take the action, go play with all of them. Think of it like a toy. Do the Studio Ghibli stuff, and then after you're done doing the Studio Ghibli stuff, like, feed it a spreadsheet of your last 30 days worth of orders and say, hey, like, tell me something interesting that you see from this, like patterns emerging. What's my AOV here? Like, why are certain days doing better than others? Maybe like your ad spend, like your velocity is like not what it ought to be based on like your seasonality intra week. That's something that like I experienced firsthand. I wish I had the ability to like look at that really quickly. So I would start messing around with the tools. And then something that we're doing at Replo specifically is like, okay, how do we like there's like AI enablement, but like how do we actually like incorporate AI into the entire workflows? So for us, from the moment someone installs our tool, we want like to be able to ingest all of the information about your brand styles, your like how you like your copy, like and then we've got like a library of thousands of templates. Like, let's map all of that stuff to those templates, like your brand to those templates. We use AI to do that. The LLMs, they actually do the thinking for us. So we don't have to go write all the code on how to like map everything. We say, hey, here's like this, here's the beginning and here's the end, and we want you to figure out the middle. And that's like what like these LLMs are really good at. Like, they have the knowledge of the world to kind of figure that stuff out. And the goal there is like, we want you to be able to do stuff faster. We want you to be able to get to the results that you want faster. Yeah. So mess around with it, and then the goal is like we're trying to make things easier, and that's like deeply integrating everything or AI into every part of our tools.
Awesome. To sort of share our perspective a little bit too, I think we've really focused, as we saw the content and the decision-making side, I think philosophically, we think there's this whole opportunity now as AI continues to get better around, traditionally A/B testing has sort of been the norm, right, in e-commerce. And like, hey, you got to pick a winner, A or B, which is better. And I think a lot of our belief is like, A may be better for some users, B may be better for some users, C may be better for some users. So how do we start to equip brands to say, hey, on decisions in terms of content, when to nudge, certain things that may not be as brand centric in terms of like how you talk about the brand, but more about when's the right time to surface a message, when's the right time to nudge somebody at a different point in time. That's a lot about how we've been thinking about it. Sort of challenging this idea of there is a single best answer, and really pushing towards there are lots of best answers, and if we can get to the point of each user, there's a best answer for them. So it's an area that we've been pushing on, and honestly, we've been focused in terms of where to start. We have a little bit of a rubric in terms of what's the benefit of being right and the cost of being wrong. And what we found a lot with brands is that when it gets to the brand voice, the cost of being wrong feels higher for a lot of brands, right? But when it comes of like, when's the right time to surface this and who to surface to, there's a little bit more leeway around that. And so that's how we've been focusing on it a little bit in terms of getting started too, and where it feels lower risk for brands to dip their toes in.
I have to agree with that. I think we've been fighting the personalization fight for years, right? Like, everyone in e-commerce wants to deliver the most personalized experience. And this is the only way to do that at scale. Like, the only way to create an experience that is for one person. That's not for a cohort. It's not for an audience segment. It's literally for one person. This is, to me, is like just a huge step forward in making changes that are really, really actually personalized.
Something I'm kind of curious to build off of that. If you're not thinking about, like, you're personalizing to a one-to-one level and you're not thinking about it from a cohort level, how are you changing how you think about measuring performance there? Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not looking at it from like a big bucket or bigger bucket, I guess.
Great question. I mean, in a lot of ways, we're doing the same things we were doing before. We're just doing it better and more efficiently. Like, we still build audience segments, but we also have AI that builds audience segments, and it's faster and it's just as good or better than what we do. So in those cases, it almost just feels like an efficiency play. But I mean, we've all been using PMax and Advantage Plus for years, right? Like, there's nothing shocking there about a black box. And I think we're kind of used to that. But at the same time, like, I know every creative wants to know what's in that black box, what creative actually did the best. What did it, why? Like, give us the information back. And so I think that as we kind of like go down this road of different services and different providers, the frustration with the black box model is going to drive a different kind of change and a different sort of transparency around getting that data and how we measure it. And right now with PMAX and Advantage Plus, it's like, well, you put the money in, and this is how much money came out, and that's really what you know. But I think we're all hungry for a little bit more than that, and just something more robust. And it may not be the same measurements that we traditionally use. It might not be the same KPIs that we've always used. It might be something that we have to kind of step back and like understand what are the broadest goals here possible, and not necessarily like, well, what's the open rate? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to change, but I think people are hungry for something that is not this is what's it. This went in. This is what came out.
Fun fact: you're going to be able to use the LLMs to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I say our answer is probably a little less glamorous, which is in the same way you're doing A/B tests, we do control groups, right? So we say, hey, there's a group we're optimizing, and we can share with you some of the ways that it's optimizing, but it is evolving, right? The AI is evolving, so whatever we share with you today, it may evolve a little bit tomorrow, but when we work with customers, when we roll out new nudges, we do have control groups to try to that initial proof and say, hey, we're making these decisions. Here's a group that we are making the decision on, but we're not going to nudge, and see how it plays out. So some of those tried and true tools are the same things that we're using also. But yeah, it's a great question. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna foreground a question because it's sort of very timely. There's been some people who've noticed that there's like shopping that's made its way into ChatGPT Shopify features. I'm curious if folks have seen that and have any thoughts about, hey, like where shopping might be going, and right, like within the world of AI, and how that might affect folks and the way you think about the customer experience and how they engage with your brand.
Well, hearing that Amazon was bidding on TikTok shops and TikTok's algorithm was kind of crazy, though. That I got to tell you, that scared me a little bit, because the addictiveness of the the for you, but to have that tied to shopping, that's wild. So the ChatGPT and shopping thing, it's like both of those things at the same time maybe hit too many places in the brain. I'm not sure if it's good for any of us.
It's like, I feel like ChatGPT or OpenAI they're really trying to eat Google's lunch, and they're doing a good job of it, like the default search engine, and the ChatGPT Shopify integration really feels like Google Shopping to me. I don't think that like landing pages, traditional websites. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm the landing page guy on this panel. It makes sense, but I don't think they're going to go away immediately. I don't think it's going to be like a native experience for people yet, like immediately, and probably not for like a couple, like 18 months, probably. Watch me be so wrong. Before that culturally shifts, but it's an additional surface area. It's additional like channel for you to try to sell stuff to. Once they roll out the ad network, which they will inevitably do, like it's going to be a place for you to bid on. There's this whole world of AI SEO, like how do you rank inside of like LLM searches, right? There's a lot to be figured out, but I don't think your website's still pretty valuable. You can continue to like optimize that. You should. Obviously, we're all incentivized to tell you that, but
it brings up an interesting question of how you tell your story, right? Mm-hmm. If it's ChatGPT that's doing it, then how does it represent your brand? Are people buying there? Is it a different buying experience? The types of things that you would buy through an experience like that, like what you buy through Amazon may be very different than what you're buying direct on a website, and how you shop, right? Is it about comparison at that point? Although people have lost, I talked to a lot of people, and like if you talk to them about Amazon, it's like that sort of love-hate of like, I can find everything I want, but I don't know if it's junk or not, and I tried to read the reviews, but do I want it?
Yeah, that's why they came out with like Rufus and trying to leverage Rufus, but then you can game it, right? I know so many reviews you'll see, like they're just the same copy and pasted message, and it's to game their like AI summary. So I don't know. I think like the ChatGPT thing, it's an interesting feature. I feel like it's going to be used for like higher AOV products, like that you have to do research on, like electronics especially, or like anything in health and wellness. Like you're doing research. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was doing some research on hair loss. I was, I'm getting older, so my kids aren't helping.
Bro, you're 1 year older than me. Don't do this. Don't do this.
But I got 2 kids, and that's like adding another 15 years. So like, 100%. Like I think people will buy stuff, but it's gonna be very like I don't think it's gonna work for every single product, to be honest. Like especially like the impulse buying products that you'll see on like Instagram. Like I'll be like scrolling, and then it's like, hey, here's this like thing that's gonna help you, jump 5 feet higher or whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, let me go buy that thing, or let me, like those are the impulse purchase things. You're typically not doing research for those. What you're doing research on is like health and wellness. Hey, I, have issues sleeping. ChatGPT, what are your recommendations? Or I have issues, whatever. And then that's where I feel like those products are going to kill it. Or I've actually done this for furniture shopping in my room, my like house. I actually had ChatGPT, like I sent it a picture of my room, and I said, what color furniture should I get? And what color should I paint the walls? And what are the like color codes and stuff? And it gave me all the recommendations. And then I just bought it straight up, like super, made it super easy for me to go shop.
But when you say you bought it, does that mean you
I
did
didn't
the
buy it from
research for it?
ChatGPT,
Okay.
GPT, because this is a new feature. But I was doing this like a couple of months ago just to do like some interior design work without having to pay an interior designer. So I took a picture of my room, and then I looked at, I asked it to tell me what color should I color the wall, and what color furniture should I go that would go well with those that wall color. So it gave me spit back an image of what the room could look like with these new colors and stuff and the types of furniture. And then I went on Rooms to Go, Nebraska Furniture, whatever, and then I just picked what I needed online. I'm too lazy to go to the actual place. So it did a pretty good job. I wouldn't say it was like 100% perfect because, you kind of have to see certain things. But for a lazy person like myself, it made it easier to make a room look a bit more appealing. But that's where I'm like, I think ChatGPT is going to be super helpful for those types of products. Those products that you typically have like a longer like buying cycle for. You have to think about a bit before you start indulging, right? And then these other products though that are like, little like gadgets and gizmos that you just like quickly see on LinkedIn, or I mean not LinkedIn, Instagram or TikTok, and you're like, all right, yeah, you know what? It's only $15. Let me just buy this thing. Like, I don't think ChatGPT like shopping is something that you should invest in. That's just like my personal opinion.
So, shifting gears here, I mean, Jennifer, I'm going to direct this question to you. How do you think, I mean, this world is evolving, so how do you decide which things we've got to be good at internally in our skills and build that muscle, and which things are you like, hey, we want to go out and find best in breed and sort of lean on somebody else to solve this for us?
Well, I mean, that's why we work with Vandra. One of the things that related to both things, like the way we thought about CRO for years has kind of been the same way. It's just like writing everything for Google to read. And when you think of CRO, you think of like a CRO agency, you think of an agency that makes landing pages. Like that's what my mind goes to. And so suddenly, like that is a completely different, it's like a totally different thing and a totally different way to arrange your hierarchies and your products. And so I think it's a good time to step back a little bit and look at your CRO strategies and make some decisions about whether they're the go forward strategies or not. And the reason I say that is because there's sort of like two big pieces. There's like the landing page creative, optimizing the copy piece. And then there's the behavioral stuff. And for us, it's the behavioral CRO that is actually moving the needle on the website. So, I mean, completely separate from ChatGPT, just your website performance and conversion, the thing that really moves people to buy are those nudges. It's not that this landing page is nicer than the other landing page or it has these keywords. It's truly like the actual experience on site. And that's been so big for us because in a lot of the, especially social channels, they're lower intent buyers. Like they are clicking through, I mean, like it's super easy to click through an ad by accident on Snapchat. It's just really easy to do. So you get a lot of this kind of lower intent, lower quality traffic hitting the site. And we are very strong in retention. I mean, we're a supplement brand. People don't jump all around, month to month trying different things. They generally find something that works and they stick with it. So for us, that being able to convert somebody for the first time is the unlock that we were desperately looking for an AI tool to help us with. And once we get people into our retention pipeline, it's just golden. I mean, we've got some incredible AI email tools and SMS, and we have a replenishment engine that we built on the back end for those who aren't subscription, users. But it's the hardest part is getting that first conversion. And as the CAC prices go up and up and up, you have to try to make the most of every little tiny bit of traffic that you get. And sometimes that means like you have to find a way to get them to convert. We are seeing a lot more success with behavioral nudges than we are with A/B testing creative or A/B testing landing pages or that sort of thing.
Something I want to add to what you just said, Jennifer, and this is really for the audience. I hope that you all internalize this deeply. Yes, we know that Ollie is a larger than average company, right? I buy them from Target. That's where I primarily consume.
Wonderful.
So I apologize for not contributing to your particular P&L,
Okay.
but it's hitting your bottom line, I'm sure. But what she just discussed is applicable to any size of company, because like the point here is you need to unlock any source of leverage that you can. These tools, these workflows that we're talking about here, they're designed to give you more leverage and give you more margin ultimately. And it's really easy to hear, what Jennifer just said and be like, that's what Ollie's doing. They're really big. I would do this if I was making $250,000 a year on ecom as well. Like what she just described, I would do the same thing. And I will put my money where my mouth is. I do consult companies in that space, in that bracket, and this is the same thing that we're doing. So I hope that what you just heard, everyone realizes this is applicable universally.
And it's accessible
something to consider
too.
too
It's
when you
not
start
ungodly expensive. Like it's absolutely accessible to anybody.
And to sort of build on that, I mean, I think one of the things as you sort of debate the build versus buy is sort of where's that data live that you could benefit from? And there is sometimes, hey, we've got certain proprietary data and it may make sense. Like we have something special we can build. I think one of the things, I'll be honest, we were concerned when we first launched was how well is the AI going to learn across sites? Like as we grow our network, is it going to be effective as we bring on new sites and making the decisions? And it has been very effective. And so one of the things as you think about buy versus build is there may be data sources you're actually getting access to. Like we anonymize the data, but all that data is feeding into the model. So what we found is we're pretty good at actually making decisions really early on, even if you're a smaller site, just because shopper behavior often can be very similar from site to site in terms of what are they doing that shows that they're engaged? What are they doing that shows that they're not as engaged? Obviously, as we're on sites longer, it gets better, but that has been one of the things that was definitely a concern up front is like how small can we go and is it going to fall apart if someone's new and they don't have a lot of data?
I had a question for Jennifer and Mark, actually. So for the application of Vandra on Ollie, what types of nudges have been the most effective that you guys have used? Like, obviously the AI is predicting which ones have been really, really good. So
I mean, the slam dunk, I think, is the discount. And that is something that for us in with someone that's lower intent, we weren't going to get that sale. So we're willing to give up a discount that is customized for that person in order to get them into our system. So that is one of those things. It's like everybody's got a welcome offer, but I think this is sort of like the next level of that because it's better. It needs to be better than your welcome offer. And it needs to feel like something that you only get if you are special or if you're invited or whatever. So that's been the big one for us. We've had that on over a year and it's really incredible. I mean, and it's very, the data is very interesting as well. We are testing all kinds of different sorts of nudges and it's almost, I'm glad I don't do this for a living because I would be overwhelmed by all the things you could do that I don't know if I would ever actually come up with anything. So again, like buy versus build, we're going to buy. We're going to let you do that part. But being able to test it and being able to see a clear control group has been a huge help too, because there are some things I thought, I'm not sure if that is enough to get someone to do something. And then surprisingly enough, it will be. Like even just, sort of regurgitating the abandoned cart message or you have a promo in your cart, just those little reinforcements over time, they really do matter. And one of the things that has been really great is that in the Vandra experience on Ollie.com, everything works together. So all of those nudges are kind of working in sync with each other and reading the same data in real time about the person. And all of that, I think, just contributes to whatever success we've seen with them. So it's, I mean, I don't want to say like all of them. I would say definitely the discounting's probably the heavy hitter, but the others are definitely helping. And there's definitely some halo effect there too, and that's a nice thing. Hard to measure, but it's very nice.
Has like AOV gone up though? Like, so like for example, like if I'm just giving out discounts now, is AOV going down
It's the
across the
same.
board, or is it it's the same? Okay, so it's
It's about the
constant, but
same.
your
Yeah.
number of orders are going up though.
Yes. And
That's
that was our intent. So I mean, I do think it depends on what you're kind of going in hoping to achieve. And for us, the need was we've got to figure out a way to convert these low intent customers. Like that is what we need. We are not getting enough high intent new customer traffic right now. So what are we going to do with what we're getting? And so that was our top priority. I mean, other brands may have totally different, objectives going into it. That was and still is our number one challenge, is just getting new customers.
cool. So the traffic is coming in, we're not converting. What's going on? Okay, Vandra comes in and is identifying, all right, this person's checking out this page, this page, this page, start seeing kind of the behavior, and then you're getting these nudges, so then it's converting sale. Then after that, let's say if there's a resubscription order, then that's where your SMS AI or email AI is kind of coming into play.
Yep.
And then win back sequences, etc. So your goal right now, it seems like, is being achieved at that first touch point, which is because of the Vandra nudges. I'm just trying to understand like what AI, like what does the AI workflow look like from first time customer to repeat. So you're seeing your CAC is going down because of this though, right? Like,
I wouldn't be so generous to say our CAC is going down. I would say that we are converting traffic we wouldn't have otherwise.
okay.
That's probably, and I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but kind of not.
Yeah.
But we are able to make more with the traffic that we're getting. And prior to that, I mean, we just weren't. We just couldn't do it. We didn't know what they liked. We didn't know where they came from. Like there was no real way to personalize their experience other than like by changing, like showing a different homepage banner or showing a different, slider of a product segment. And those, everybody does that, and that's great. But that's not going to move the needle on a first-time customer who is low
Okay,
intent.
got it.
So her experience has been pretty common too. I'd say our discount nudge is the most effective. It's you're giving something, right? Like the motivation behind a discount, but we have seen other nudges be effective. It's also early in the journey. I think the approach we've taken with a lot of these is sort of the crawl, walk, run, which is let's start. We're nudging folks. We're getting more data. It feeds the AI. It can be more intelligent. I mean, I think ultimately, with a lot of AI, it's like how do you maximize the benefit and minimize the cost of a lot of these things? So I think the discount nudge is doing a good job in terms of people are motivated by discounts. If you could just give those people the discounts and stay out of the way of the person that's already headed for checkout, and that's at the core of what we're doing for the Vandra discount nudge. And then now we're starting to branch out into other areas where it may not be a purely financial motivation, but like how do we help you get to where we think the next step of your journey is? So you're coming back, you've got an active cart. Let's foreground that. Let's show you that you've got some savings. You checked out some products last time. Let's foreground that. So it's really about how do you start to adapt that experience? I mean, I think that's part of the power of AI is in the targeting, the timing of what you can do and let your brand shine on the content that it has. So we've even started to play with social media nudges in terms of popping up videos, but not everybody's getting the video. We're watching for people that are sort of window shopping a little bit. And so how do we start to make that experience much more dynamic?
So I kind of want to understand like what data points are feeding this AI. Like, is it like percent scroll? Is it yeah? Like I'm confused. Like I'm confused. Like on how it actually all works.
I'm curious, Jennifer, for you. I'll answer for us, but I'm curious for you. Is that one of the first questions you ask when you're bringing on a new AI tool? Because that is probably the first question we get almost when folks.
Yes and no. I can't say that I would pretend to be an AI expert, but with vendors that we trust, and there's trust, and we had a lot of conversations before we ever put anything live on site. And actually, one of the best things I think that you did that sold me on it was just like putting the pixel on site and just capturing data for like 2 months, and then being able to look at that and for you to say, hey, this amount of customers we think we could have converted with a nudge. This group we don't think we would have been able to convert. This is a protected high intent group. We were not going to serve them a nudge. This is your control group. So just to be able to see kind of what that could look like or what it would look like took a lot of the fear out of it, because I think my first worry was like, we just can't give discounts out to everybody, I mean, and that, like, thinking about the AOV and thinking about all of those things. But when you see the data kind of put together of like, here's what could have happened, it's very, it builds a lot of trust, and it really shows that, like, I don't necessarily need to know what your algorithm is. I don't care. I just want it to work. That's at the end of the day, that's why we buy, that's why we didn't build it.
It is. I mean, so it's one of the first questions we get is, how does this work? And it almost feels like it's a test of like, I just want it to feel convincing. Whatever you say, I want it to feel convincing. But we definitely, with early adopters, when we were early, we went through a process where we would say, look, we're not going to nudge anybody. We're going to show you the data of what we decided, who we would have nudged and who we would not have. And we're going to show you what those people did afterwards. So here's the people we said were high intent. How did they convert? Here's the people we said were low intent. How did they convert? So we found very early on that trust building, especially being new to the space, was really important, because I don't know if people have been burned where someone said they could do something and then they launch it and they're just like, this feels random, or it feels like there's no intelligence here. But it definitely comes up, and it is actually something that we share continually with brands now of like, hey, here's the people we didn't nudge. Mm-hmm. Here's the unnecessary discounts avoided. Here's the conversion rate of those folks. To, again, build that trust, because you are sort of turning your decision making over to an entity that you have to have that trust. Mm-hmm. To think, hey, it's processing more data than I could process as a human. It's able to make these real time decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer, question for you related to this topic of trust. This is something I think would be useful for the audience. What is that threshold of trust? Like, what do you see as an operator, especially with the level of scale that you're at? What is the barrier of trust? What do tools like all of us, all the rest of us here, like, what do we have to do to earn that?
Well, honestly, I do think, and I've seen more and more vendors doing this lately, where you do like a 90-day pilot. And that to me is, and I mean, like, even a paid pilot, that's fine. Like, but I'm not going to just sign a 2-year contract with you without seeing really how it works. And I also believe that's a strong statement of confidence in the product that you have. If you're like, look, use it for 90 days, you cannot live without it. Tell me that, I kind of already believe you just because of your confidence. But, when you see it in action and you see what could have been, or you see, what would have been, it makes it more real, and it makes you think about the incrementality in a more practical way than I think you do when you're just thinking of like, I don't know, what were the incremental dollars? Because it kind of paints a whole picture of how you have these features that work together. And but we have a couple vendors that we work with that were new to us, and we started with a pilot. And, give me your proof of concept. Like, if it's good, we're not going to walk away from it. It's truly one of those things where, like, show me what you can do. If it's a winner, it's a winner. And that's the number one thing that builds trust for me. It's just like, let us see it. Let's see it work.
All right, we're going to do a live TV thing here, since Jennifer said 3 months as the bar. So if you sign up by the end of this week, we will let you try it for 3 months. We'll give you the same courtesy that Jennifer was asking for here. So again, we are on Shopify. I see some questions. We're a Shopify app. We'll give you the link at the end of this. But if you do sign up by the end of this week, we'll give you that 3 months so you can see for yourself the impact.
It's just to see the data is super interesting, to kind of really see, like, this is how an AI would split out the intent of your customers. Like, that's kind of interesting just by itself.
I hope that everyone on this call, you should approach everything in the AI stuff, because it's so new. Like, we've discovered fire here, right? And it's actually just sand turned into intelligence. If you think about the microchip processing manufacturing thing. But really what I hope you all do is it's important for you to try to test. Like, I've said this a couple times on this call, play around these systems, but also make sure that the tools that you're playing with are willing to have kind of the back and forth, the conversation. Obviously, Mark's gonna jam with you if you have questions. I'm going to jam with you if you ever come to Replo and have questions. Same with Zoe. It's important for you to vet these people. Like, they have to earn your trust. And I hate seeing brands burned when they try out tools and then they were promised sun, moon, and the stars, doesn't work for them, and then they just write that channel off entirely. Like, there's a ton of alpha out here. Just be diligent and be patient, and really make sure that the tools that you're evaluating are in your trust.
Let me ask a question for the chat too. I know we've got agencies on here. How are you helping clients vet AI tools? I mean, definitely please share. I would love to sort of hear from agencies. And I know, Sanjay, you mentioned you're helping brands. If you have a process that you go through to say, hey, like, this is worth sharing and this feels like it's not baked yet, or I'm worried this feels like, a little bit of hype and the real deal isn't quite where the hype is yet. How do you vet when you're working with clients? And again, folks on the chat would love to hear you guys chime in as well.
I have the unique benefit, because we have tens of thousands of people that use our tool. I have the unique benefit of being able to ask tens of thousands of brand owners what's working, what's not. So I have a sample size that's much larger than the average human being. So I have a lot of friends that are on the front lines feeding information back to me. So that's like the first layer of influence. The second layer is I'm not a technical person, but I know my way around Shopify pretty well. And I can ChatGPT my way through the rest of it if I really need to. So I understand how data is structured enough inside the system. I know what the expected outcomes are from a technical perspective. Again, I'm a weirdo. This is something I've been doing since I was in high school. So this is great. It's a part of who I am now. But I really try to push the tools. Same thing that I said about using ChatGPT and Claude and all these things, figuring out what the bounds are, figuring out what data you can get out of these systems. You have to play with them. And I'm fortunate enough to where I have a couple of partners that allow me to use their stores to kind of capture this data. And then, we share the learnings with those people. We iterate on that, and then I share it broadly. So again, I'm fortunate enough, and I think this is something that a lot of agency operators are going to have a similar experience with. You get to see a bunch of different accounts. You see what's working, what's not, and you can share those learnings across the portfolio.
Nice. So we've been talking about sort of the rosy side. What are some lumps that you've taken or learnings that you've had to maybe get the hard way in the AI space?
We've had some bumpy attribution, not with Vandra, but I would say more on the email side, where the tool we might be using doesn't necessarily reflect some of the same data that our CRM does. And so I think there is, again, that kind of goes to trust too. And you're there are ways that we can check work and make sure things are right. But when they're wrong, sometimes it's just a mistake. Sometimes it's just a messy deployment, and you can address those things. But we definitely had some bumps in the attribution space, and you do need to look at it. You can't just walk away and trust it that it's correct and it'll be forever correct. You've got to keep an eye on it.
I have, where do I start? I will tell you a product failing with Replo AI specifically. So our first version of Replo AI, we were trying to do landing page generation, and this is back in March of 2023, I want to say. So GPT 3.5 had just dropped, and we were messing around with it. The engineer that was building it, he is now actually working at OpenAI. So he left Replo to go work at OpenAI. We get fun little secrets from him. That's not true, but anyway. When we thought even 3.5 could do a lot of the full page generation stuff that we wanted to do that we're building out now, and it just couldn't. And it took us about 3 months. And a lot of customers being yo, this sucks. For us to just say, hey, we're gonna it's decent for copy, it's decent for ingesting product information and then generating copy for the page, but not so much for building out like a layout of a page and then being able to put all the pieces together. So that was a really big lump that we took, and it took us a ton of customer feedback to kind of dial back what we allowed the AI to do. But now that the models have gotten so much better and we're able to dynamically switch between models for different pieces of things, which is not, again, that's another thing that we weren't able to do before. That's a key lesson that came out of this. We were actually able to get to the goal of hey, you type into the page, I want the landing page that sells, a bundle of all of my like vitamins, and it's got subscription, and it's the background color matches the color of the packaging in the image, like, and it does all of that for you. So we're really, really close to releasing that, but it required us getting punched in the face and yelled at by customers being like, yo, this AI stuff sucks, to get to that point.
We came out with like a AI influencer search tool. Like, the thing was, users were having difficulties figuring out if they would reach out to these influencers, and then the influencers weren't responding, but the search tool was essentially like helping them find these people. But if your prompt kind of was irrelevant to your actual like brand, or wasn't like the perfect fit, you kind of are just reaching out to people for no reason. So like, that's where I kind of differ from the perspective of like, you could just AI your way out of everything. Like with influencers, when you're working with content creators and stuff like that, these individuals create content, and they're not always using AI to create content. They're being as creative as possible. They're trying to be funny. They're trying to show you their like looks and routines, and everyone's routines are different, and like, that's where like, you can't AI your way through everything. And I think of that Ashton Hall guy who's going viral right now. Like, you think AI would have come up with that video? Like, come on. Like, who dunks their head in a bucket, like a bowl of water, like Saratoga water at that, right? Saratoga's market cap went up by $1 billion because of that, those videos. So that's where I'm like, look, that's maybe AI doesn't work in the influencer space, and we actually got rid of the AI tool because customers were putting themselves into this like loophole of like, oh yeah, like I'll just say, hey, people who talk about XYZ, okay, great, but like, you're reaching out to people who are already talking about a product that you sell. Like, maybe that's not who you're supposed to target. That's why I really liked Olipop's approach. They actually sponsored Shannon Sharp's brand, right? So like, they were trying to target Walmart shoppers, okay? So they started, sponsoring podcasts that were a little bit like less Andrew Huberman, and and they went for Shannon Sharp and sports podcasts and like Call Her Daddy or whatever and stuff like that, and they started just placing the can in the videos, and that actually popped their Walmart sales up and all of their retail shopper sales up, because they didn't go for the AI approach, which is, hey, who should I go target based off of my brand? They're always going to tell you like, yo, target exactly this, and that person's already being targeted because AI is using legacy data. They're not thinking of new things. AGI, when that comes out, maybe, but right now we're not there yet. That's where it's like, cool, like creative, and this is why I said this before, decision maker versus creator. Like, I don't think AI is really that great for creative stuff. I don't know, just personal opinion. I think it enhances, or it gets you to be more creative faster, but I don't think it's actually creating anything new.
Yeah, those are great. I mean, I'll share one from us. Obviously, AI context is key, right? Like, how do you give it the right context, the right information? Very early on, we were running it like brands. We had some brands that we were working with that were giving heavy discounts, and it was like, we're offering 15% off with our nudge, and they're launching a 30% off sale, and the numbers tank, and we're like, what's going on? And then we go to their site and be like, oh, they have a 30% off sale, and we're 15% off. Our nudge doesn't feel that compelling anymore. And so we've had to sort of get a whole lot smarter about the context that we operate in. One is auto detecting, like a lot of brands are doing auto applied discounts. So how do we start to detect those better? Giving brands more control too. Like, if you know something that we don't know, you can help guide the AI, right? You can say, shut off for this session if we need to, because I know I gave this person who's a VIP customer a 40% off special deal. They're coming from that deal. So stay quiet for this session. So we've had to get a lot smarter. And interestingly enough, a lot of those have actually turned into opportunities where we screwed up, like it didn't quite have the capabilities in place, and said, hey, let's flip this around. If you're giving these deals out, can we help reinforce those offers? If you're going to get 50% off, we don't want to give our nudge. What we want to do is, reinforce your discount. And so we've found some opportunities, but definitely like in the AI space, obviously context is often king with a lot of this. And how do you give the AI the right context to make the best decisions? I'm sort of like, are there third rails when you think about this? Is there anything that you're like, we want to stay away from this, and you've decided sort of near term, like in the AI space, it sounds great, but for us, we're staying away from this?
I had a conversation with some of our investors like last 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about how a lot of companies that they're looking at now think that they can just out of the gate do everything for everyone, even if it's like specialized to a customer. And I thought that way for a long time too. I don't think the models are there yet. I think the third rail is like, hey, like to your point about context, Mark, just make sure that like the tools that you're using have the context. And if you're building anything AI related, just like be very, very vigilant of the context that you feed it. Because it's still a nascent tool, and they don't fully, it doesn't always like glue everything together the way you would want it to. And when it does that enough times for enough people, it gets crazy off the rails. So yeah, just that context, and that's just the biggest thing. Like don't try to go for the everything all in one app. That doesn't exist yet. We're pretty far away from it. Maybe we're not far, but we're not here yet, at least.
I don't know for you, Jennifer, there's certain things you're like, this sounds great, but we've stayed away because of this reason.
The creative's off the table for us. So, I mean, that is one that I think we didn't even go there, just knowing how hard it is to get regular creative approved. So for us, that's been a no-go. I think, part of my role is compliance, and that's data privacy compliance. It's CCPA. It's ADA compliance. I mean, it's like kind of everything that's in that bucket. So for me, that's always like the first question is like, is this secure? Is this safe? Are we doing our job in protecting our customers' data? And if the answer to any of those things are no, then it's just a no-go for us. Like, I mean, we definitely have kind of like walk away stakes of like that, you're not there yet. But at the same time, we've had a lot of success working with smaller startups who are kind of like, we're creating this thing, we have this vision, we're kind of going down the path, but we're not quite there yet. But beta testing, we would love to have you as a partner. And for us, that's awesome. Like, that's a win-win. I think if you get into that space where you're beta testing for an early stage startup, like, you have to know it's not going to be perfect. And you have to kind of understand, like, what are the risks? There will be things that don't work and that are learnings, and you have to be okay with that. So I think just like knowing your own level of risk helps a lot, and just understanding, where the partner is, what the roadmap looks like, just as much information as you can get, because that'll keep you from getting burned, in a situation where like suddenly you went too far.
I'm going to end on one last question before we turn it over to Q&A. You drop into your magical time machine and you go a year from now, although I don't know why you only go for a year from now, but you decided to only go forward 12 months. What's different? What are you expecting to see that you're saying, hey, like this is what's going to look different about our business, about how we think about AI, or what's going to have come to life by then? So your role is different.
Yeah. I think for us, it's probably the continual evolution of how we view CRO. Like, what do we think that is? What does that look like in the future? And how is it different than it's been for the last 5 to 10 years?
I think social media is gonna put up regulation against AI. So that's my take. So all these people that are leveraging content creators and are creating like AI content and stuff, I think that there's going to be AI flags and more regulation because it's getting better and scarier, and I think, yeah.
A year from now, I will be hopefully jacked, and my vitamin levels will be dialed in because of Ollie vitamins. Let's go. We're ready to rock.
I'll say that to our legal team, please.
That is not a claim, legal team, by the way.
I think that's how it works. You just take a pill and you get jacked.
The compliance is
our
like
dream
freaking out
is
right
probably now. You're gonna have. I mean, the whole shopping experience we hope is sort of different and feels a whole lot more tailored. I mean, if you go to most e-commerce sites, 5 seconds in, you're going to get a welcome email pop up with a discount. If you close that and you go to the third page, you'll probably get it again. If you leave something in your cart, you're probably going to get a discount within 4 hours. You'll probably get a reminder within a day. And I think our hope is that it feels a lot more dynamic and relevant and tailored, that you sort of feel like, oh, this site knows me, that's getting to know me the more that I'm on it. I think that's what we hope it feels like.
And to Mark's point, I think one of the things I think is really cool is like right now, if you want to do all that stuff, it's super manual. It's like I've got to set those things up in Klaviyo, and it takes forever. Like being able to do that in a few clicks is pretty powerful. So I think that's the future of AI. To seriously answer the question where I think we'll be in a year, it's a lot of like the CRO stuff that Jennifer's talked about. I mean, my goal is we are able to, kind of give you the recommendations that you need and build them for you based on your specific data. That's the goal, right? It's personalization both ways. It's for the customer that's going to come onto your site and buy from you, and it's also personalization for you as the brand operator. What do you need? What does your business need? And I think we're all kind of committed to providing that tooling for you and doing all the heavy lifting and figuring out how to wrangle AI to make that happen.
Right. Get you out of those gut decisions where you're just saying, I think this is right, but it may not be right.
Just vibe scaling.
Awesome. Let's take a moment. If you've got questions, we have a question. I'm curious to get folks. What are your tips for brands whose customers' lifetime is only 1 to 2 years because the product is for babies ages 0 to 2? It's been difficult to build longevity or a really strong repurchase rate. I don't know if tips from the group on a brand like that.
I think that you take the customer, like the customers that you have, and try to get them onto, into like an affiliate program or some sort of referral program, so then they can refer other, let's say like parents, about their products. So there's this brand that on Social Snowball that actually turns all their customers into affiliates, and they actually have a nudge that goes out or an email that goes out after they've hit a certain, their certain mark, the 2-year mark, for, I think it's like for like baby formula and like, their other stuff. What they do is they actually recommend, they'll say like, hey, like give a gift to your friend and here's like a gift card or coupon code or whatever that you can share. And then these moms are like sending them to their friends that just are, recently having kids. So like I know this for a fact. Me personally, I moved to Dallas because we had kids and all of our friends have kids and or are planning to have kids. So we are constantly giving each other recommendations and stuff like that. Now people use Social Snowball to reward cash and lower their CPAs. So they give cash as a reward. So imagine a mom, maybe she was out of work for a little bit. Now she's referring stuff to her friend's family, like, that are just having kids, like, about your product. Like, you're bringing in new customers, plus you're now giving back a little bit to the people that, like, were buying your products for the past couple of years and recommending you. So that's kind of what I've seen a lot of these, like, baby companies, like Mamaroo, for example, is a great one. I mean, they do, like, the refer a friend type of thing a lot. So, yeah.
I'm going to preface what I say. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
All right. Sorry about that. Because the fun thing about these like digital panels is that you like have to like manage this. It's a little bit more natural in person. So hopefully next time we do this in person. I'll go really quickly. So I'm going to preface this by saying I have 2 cats, and I will probably only have 2 cats. But I have opinions on this topic. The first is obviously do what Zoe said. I think that's like the default play. The second thing is, it's okay to think about your, like newborn brand as, you may not necessarily need to think about it as like, I need to drive repurchase rate up as high as I can if you have a finite lifetime value. Mm-hmm. So at that point, the game becomes, how can I profitably acquire customers and know that within that like 0 to 2 years span, like I'm going to have them for that period of time, but I want to replenish. People thankfully are still having babies. And I think what you do is like you start teaming up with other companies in your vertical, doing affiliate deals, like CPA deals. Okay, so people are going to buy newborn clothes. Cool. Then you can kind of cross sell. You can team up and cross sell your product if you're doing supplements or some other type of product, or vice versa. Like there are other businesses that serve that demographic. Your replenishment rate or your repeat purchase rate is going to come from the fact that there's going to be new babies coming into the world. It's not so much like that particular individual is going to continue to buy from you, and that's okay to think about your business in that way.
Yeah, no, you hit on what I was going to say, which is know the business you're in, that you don't have that repurchase rate, and so what you're probably going to need to be good at is that customer acquisition side. So how do you make sure that whether it's the first visit or the second visit, the things you probably want to focus on, or how do you make sure you create that urgency to buy? How do you make sure you tell your story really quickly? And that's what you need to be good at, right? I mean, Ollie, clearly, they have a vitamin brand, and as Claire shared, right, like what they become good at is, how do I get you to buy again? Because if I get you that first time, right, like vitamins are things you're going to buy again and again, and we got to be really good because that lifetime value can go on for a long time. I know, talking to a number of brands in the baby space during, just either customers or research we've done, communities in those spaces are really strong, and a lot of those brands have found lots of success if you're able to tap in, either build your own community or tap into communities, because new moms are looking for communities, and they product recommendations in that space. If you get a recommendation for a product and it works, people love it and they shout it from the mountaintops. And so we've heard that again and again from brands that are in those spaces, that when you find those influencers, when you find those communities, it can be really effective for you. Question: how many pop-ups on a website is too many? It's hard to prioritize with more apps offering them now, such as reviews, nudges, signups, trying also to provide personalization.
That's like the perfect question for Jennifer, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it's a great question. I think it's something you should ask yourself literally every day. And I think one of the things that sometimes we forget to do in the e-com space is to step back and literally walk through your site like you're a customer. Be like, go in incognito mode, see what happens, see all the things that pop up so you can understand it. There can be too many pop-ups. And I think the timing of the pop-ups is sort of this, like, the critical question now. It's like, when is the best time in the experience to serve this kind of thing? When is it time for a cookie banner? When is it time for, email sign up? And I believe that there are optimal times for each one of those things, and it might not be the same for every customer. So that is, again, like a great use case for AI in trying to analyze people's behavior over time. And the challenge is that, generally speaking, and those are like multiple systems that are doing it, they're not connected systems. So that, I think, is the trickiest piece right now, is that there's not like Vandra doesn't know what's going on, in email, because they're not connected. Like, it's not connected to our CRM or whatever. So I think that makes it a little more challenging, but we'll get there. I think less is more. If you're not sure, you don't need it, is kind of my default. Like, if you, like the Coco Chanel, like, always just take one thing off before you go out of the house. Less is more.
Think about the funnels. Think about where you're getting these traffic from, right? If it's a new customer, it's a new customer acquisition funnel, you don't need to throw in a review widget on that page necessarily, right? You need to show reviews, like star ratings, what people have said, but you don't need to ask someone for a review that's never purchased. And I think it's like, okay, understand where your customer's coming from, go through your funnels in incognito mode, just like Jennifer said. But less is more. Like, we're not like the early 2000s, like super spammy anymore. And there are brands that still do that. I don't think you need to do that. Just be contextualized.
And ask yourself, is this helping or is it an interruption, right? I do think that, like, we've seen it with some of our nudges too, like, when is the right time to show this? Does it feel like it's progressing someone forward? It's contextual. It makes sense given where they are in the journey, or is this just, I interrupted? I mean, we actually just put out some research. We were sort of surprised at how quickly we went to over 100 sites and said, how quickly are these welcome email pop-ups? The average time was 8.8 seconds. And I think we looked at, like, what's the average reading rate? And it was like, somebody in 8.8 seconds can get through like 30 words. And so it was almost like, when's the right time? Is it when they hit your site? Is that the time to sort of get them the welcome email, or give them a little bit more time to get in? And I think there's probably not an easy answer, but starting to ask that tough question, is this helpful? Is it progressing the experience forward, or is it going to be perceived by the customer as sort of that interruption? I was in the middle of doing something and now you pop this thing up that doesn't feel like it's related to what I was doing. I mean, this is also probably a place where you test, right? Like testing, and the data is probably going to tell you, like, are you getting value out of some of these additional pop-ups? If not, is that a place to say, hey, let's see how it goes without them? Other questions from
let's do this one. What are your thoughts on using AI agents for e-commerce? What automation use cases do you recommend? Jennifer, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think there's so much opportunity here, especially when you look at your CX tickets. Like probably 85% of them are, where is my order? I want to know where my order is. In the e-com space. So like that's perfect for an AI agent to handle. That's amazing. That's exactly what it's meant for. It's those super low hanging, like high bulk questions that you get all the time, and AI is great for that. For us, we kind of have like we have levels, right? So like there's that. There's anything transactional. There's anything related to payments. All of that's pretty straightforward. When we do get questions around like efficacy, or like, can I take this every day? Or when you start getting into health questions, that's like, for us, that's where we draw the line. Like a person has to answer that. So we do default anything that's not like transactional to a different sort of lane. Like that's not something we would have AI handle. So I think it kind of depends on what you're selling and what your appetite for that is. I think if you're selling towels, like you could probably, I feel like you could almost go full AI on it. But if you do have some educational factors that need to be there, like some questions, like you probably need to have the human touch on it, and you probably need that human touch to have your brand voice and like really know your brand voice.
Imagine an AI agent accidentally said something like, maybe it was misprogrammed or something and said the wrong thing about Ollie. That could be huge.
That would be devastating.
It's class action,
It would be terrible.
So like, that's
you really want to talk to my legal department, don't you?
I'm so ready.
I just agree with it. It's just like, like it's AI in my opinion is not fully there yet. It's not thinking like a human, and it's not looking at all of the like scenarios. It's just looking at the scenario that you prompted it to look at.
And sometimes we put bad data in. I mean, sometimes we do a bad job, so I mean, it can come back to us, but bad data in, bad data out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I personally have sort of a rule of thumb, which is like, what's the benefit and what's the benefit of getting it right and the cost of getting it wrong. And so I spent a good part of my career in the financial services space. And so there was sort of this, we have all this data about people's money and we could like help them with their finances, and wouldn't it be amazing? And so I think a lot of these things are about framing of like, how are you using the AI? And it is in a place where if you get it right, it's a high value thing. And if you get it wrong, it's low cost. So to give an example from that space, we were playing with the idea of like telling somebody safe to spend, right? Like, here's the amount of money in your bank account that is safe for you to spend, versus AI that would tell you, we think you may overdraft this month. So what we realized in the safe to spend environment, as a good example, was that was high risk, because if we got it wrong and somebody spent the money, and they were going to be pissed that we told them like, you have $300 that's safe to spend and you overdrafted because we told you something wrong. Versus telling you might overdraft was like, if we're wrong, that means you didn't overdraft. It's like a pleasant thing. Like, we think there's a chance you might overdraft and maybe you can change your behavior. But in effect, they were almost answering the same question of like, can I spend this money? What's the risk here? I think that's a way to think about it that's guided us a little bit. Like, hey, as you're thinking about these nudges, what's the benefit if we get it right? And what's the cost if we get it wrong or we interrupt this experience?
I'm going to tack on my answer to this question. I'm going to put it up on the screen just once more, because I've got several. So Jennifer talked through a couple things specifically related to CX. I think obviously like answering the transactional tickets where there's a discrete answer, there's a specific answer of like, oh, your order is in Biloxi and it'll get to you tomorrow. Like those sorts of things, great. What is also happening there is you're having like AI classification. So there's actually like an agentic workflow. I don't know if it's agentic, but it's a workflow of like context being studied and then like an action being taken with like those CX tickets. I think you can do that for or some other workflows that I would personally use is there are tools like Refunnel, for example, that can ingest all of the content that your product gets tagged in, and being able to like take that data out and seeing what are people actually saying about my product, and then that will generate your next set of ad hooks or email campaigns or oh, I'm noticing. So like one of the things that so I used to run a soap company, and I had to do this manually. So it was actual Indian doing the work, not an AI. And I like just going through like customer reviews. Like I noticed there was like a lot of people in the military that would use our laundry product, and so that required like that insight allowed me to like, okay, like now I have to go figure out how to make it easier to ship to like military bases around the world. So taking customer reviews on social, in actual reviews, being able to like generate marketing content from that, I think that's, and also like workflow improvements. Something else, if you are shipping things, like you're probably like offloading a lot of this stuff to a 3PL. It's really important to audit the work that your 3PL is doing. If you're doing in-house fulfillment, it's a lot easier to do this, but 3PL, there's like a little bit of a black box situation. You need to make sure that they are putting the right packaging around, that they are, if you have like multiple warehouses, that your shipping zones are optimized properly, like for like where the most of your volume is coming from a order perspective. Like that's stuff that you can take your order data, your shipping data, you can feed that into AI, and then it can say, hey, you're actually, your DC is in LA, but most of your orders are coming from like upstate New York. Maybe consider splitting X percentage of inventory to a DC that's closer, so you reduce your overall shipping costs. That's getting your margin back, right? You've got tariffs coming after you. You've got all sorts of volatility, CACs going up. That's like those little things. They seem little, but like that is a specific workflow that you can use AI for that would actually dramatically transform your margin profile as a business and allow you to scale more as well if you have more money to do so. Those are just some things. One thing I will call out, I've got a bunch of stuff that I put together in a document that we will send out with the recording. So you're going to get a lot more than just what we've discussed here. But surface level, those are like some of the things that I would focus on.
Maybe last question, and as we do it, I'll throw up sort of the profiles of folks. And again, we're going to send this out. But how do I sell this into my boss who is nervous about AI?
Jennifer, how did you buy into AI?
Well, I'm the most skeptical person probably at Ollie because I do own compliance. So I am the one who tells people no. So if I'm into it, then it's usually fine. I think that there's a way you have to break AI down when you talk about it, because it's not just ChatGPT. And I think there can be a misconception to some people that that's what it means, and that like you're going to put all the company's proprietary information into ChatGPT and then it's going to get regurgitated all over the world. I mean, machine learning has been around for a long time. Like we've been doing this, at some level for a long time. And I think it's really important to separate the two things. That there's one thing, it is ChatGPT. Just take that entirely off the table and talk only about how it more efficiently helps you sort through the data that you have and make it actionable. So I think that to me is probably the thing I would recommend the most, is like make sure that you can speak intelligently to how both things are different and how what you are talking about is a specific thing. Because it is like such a term that's just everywhere and thrown around, and I think it means a little bit of a different thing to everybody. So for me, it would really be like, just make sure you know, first of all, what your objectives are to try to get out of the conversation. I mean, everybody knows marketing is really storytelling. So just make sure you understand what your objectives are in the conversation, and repackage that in a way that feels non-threatening, but really focuses on like the history of machine learning, and kind of when, even when we first started generating like related products, or like you might also like that's AI. I mean, there's a historical context, I think, that makes it feel a lot less scarier when you start thinking about that and you stop thinking about like robot overlords.
So I want to let you go next, man. How do you sell this to your boss? How'd you convince Noah?
I mean, he kind of pushed me. He had to convince me to use it. But no, basically, like, yeah, I would just say, like, hey, let's try to, like, I would make a list of things that you can offload on AI and then show the cost savings, like, employee-wise. Hey, we didn't have to hire XYZ person or whatever. and that's the easiest way. Any boss would be like, yeah, you're gonna save me money, great.
That's the Shopify. Like Toby Lutke literally said that, like, company-wide manifesto: do not ask for new hires until you've shown if you until you've evaluated if you can do this with AI,
Yeah,
right?
that's our
This is
philosophy.
about unlocking leverage here. It's about getting margin not just on your money but also on your time. And I think that's what you communicate to your boss. If you don't do it, your competitor will. And that's, I know it's like freaking doomsday like angle, but that's the reality of the game. And this is like, there's so many resources. Play with the tools. I think Google even like dropped like a 300-page how-to prompt. Like, prompting is an art and a science in and of itself. Like,
Yep.
I didn't bother reading it. I actually downloaded the PDF and gave it to ChatGPT to summarize because lazy man. But you can do that kind of stuff, and that will make you better if you understand. Okay, these tools have, Anyway, the point about selling to your boss, this is the way the world is going to go. It's about unlocking leverage. More leverage means more money for everybody in less time, and then you can go golf or race cars or garden, whatever you want to do. In addition to the great work that you do day to day.
So two things here. One, I mean, we're part of a venture studio, and a mantra that we have, especially, again, separating out sort of AI and generative AI. Generative AI is only a few years old, so nobody is truly an expert. Like, no one can say they've been doing it for 20 years. So you're not that far behind anybody at this point to play with it, right? Like the learning curve, there's definitely a learning curve, but diving in and doing it is definitely part of it. And AI itself, like more broadly speaking, obviously it's been around. I mean, it's been around in e-commerce for a while, and there's probably been some hype cycles to it of like it first came out as hype and then it sort of quieted down and then came back up. But I do think the advice of just go in and try it, and maybe it's a crawl, walk, run. Even with tools like ours, we had a lot of merchants that say, hey, like, let's start off and we're going to try this nudge, or we're going to do it at this. We're going to start off, we just want to give you a 15% off discount. We'll try it before we go to 20%. So I do think a lot of this stuff, you just got to dive in and see what it does and quickly make decisions. If it's not working, move on and try the next thing. On the back end, someone was great and made a quick slide for us because I made the offer of a free trial. So we put a link up here, grab the QR code if you're interested in checking us out in that crawl, walk, run approach, and go into the Shopify App Store listing.
If you're
any parting thoughts from anybody before we go that they didn't feel like they got out?
Jennifer, you want to start us off?
I feel great. I feel like this has been a good conversation. It's all on the table.
Awesome.
So you got anything for us, bud?
Nope. Same here. I think I let my feelings known today.
You're the resident skeptic.
Yeah.
All I will say is just go play with the tools. Get it on your phones. Use them every day. Figure out all the different ways you can play with it, and you'll start to see what the limits are, and you'll get better at it, and you'll make more money.
Awesome. I mean, a lot of great stuff. If you made only part of it, we're going to send out the video afterwards. We'll send out the slides. Feel free to connect with folks here on LinkedIn as well. You can see, everyone on this panel loves talking about this kind of stuff. So encourage you to connect with us. And thanks for showing up today.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.